On to a new location now. I'm out where it's a little sunnier and it connects to the next part of the video I want to show you. I'm just going to stop and make myself coffee and that kind of thing first. So I've just moved into a rest area that's nearby to the campsite I was in. And the closest rest area that's to this entire area really, but I'm just going to throw myself on a morning coffee and that kind of thing. I had some coffee that was still sitting back into the car, so I don't even have to make it from scratch. So I'm kind of lucky in that regard. But I'll come back once I've had a coffee and that kind of stuff into me. Okay, so this is the part I'm actually kind of excited about. I wanted to try this out in more of a controlled environment, but I've got the GoSun Go. So I brought myself along just some chunks of meat and a potato, so hopefully the meat all packs in there, and if there's a little bit of room I'll chop up the potato and throw it in. But definitely want to try out my new solar cooker. So as you can see, it's backpack size, if you will, weighs about 2 pounds. It's easily carried in one hand, that kind of thing. But you can't open it up and preheat it, it's just the nature of how these things work. But let me cut scenes here. I'll fill up the tray and get it ready to put into the cooker, and you guys can see exactly how this comes together. Okay, so inside here I've just got a cleaning brush, a stand piece, a cleaning rag, and some, I believe these are silicone cooking containers. So I'm going to put the meat into these and then put them into a tray that sits in here, and I'll go through that in detail once it's set up. Okay, well, I didn't find that it actually took even all the meat, so I've got a second set of trays. I'll probably have to cook off 2 batches, but that's okay, one way or the other. I'll cut to the next scene. You can see how this all kind of comes together now. So I just opened up the case. There's a little plastic piece that kind of sits sideways to ensure that it stays open. This is a glass tube now with blackened copper paint, I think it is, blackened copper on the inside, and you just slide your food tray right into that. I hope the camera is catching this half decent, but you just slide your food tray into that, and now I aim this at the sun. There's a stand that exists on this as well, so I'll probably adjust that to get it to a better angle, but that's the general theory behind what's going on with this. And then it just focuses the sun off of the parabolic mirrors onto this blackened surface, and then it creates a rise in temperature on the inside. But like I say, one way or the other, I've got some fine tuning to do to it, but I'll cut back. So I don't know if the camera is able to catch it alright, but there's a little sun kind of shadow caster, if you will, that goes on in this regard, where you want to get the dot of the shadow from the red dot there. You want to get the dot kind of centered into the disc, if you will. So it's in a pretty good placement now. Like I say, I'll just make sure that my food's sitting upright. It's cool to the touch. It doesn't feel warm in any regard, but the inside temperatures of these can get up to, I think it's about 250 degrees Celsius. So like I say, I'll probably do off 2 batches. I just use a little bit of soy sauce on the meat to give it a bit of flavor, but no, I'll probably do off 2 batches, and I'll cut when the food's, you know, as we progress. So you can see the space and size this thing takes up is very little. It doesn't cook off huge piles of food, but it will cook food without fuel. So if you're in fire bands or you're wanting to be low-key and that type of thing, they do sell bigger versions of these, but this was a 2-pound one I could just throw in a bag and take with me. So I definitely wanted to try this one out and see how successful it would be. But this was one of the key reasons why I wanted to kind of get out and do this video, was I knew today'd be a sunny day, and I wanted to do a good test of this. Even though you see snow on the ground in some of the previous scenes, probably, if I don't edit those out, it's going to reach up to 19 degrees up in the area I'm in, Celsius. So that's well above zero, but I'm going up and down in terrain and that type of thing. Altitude of some areas are still snow covered, others aren't, and yet the temperature's still coming up. So the spring seems to be coming on us fast in the area I'm in. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes now, and I can see a bit of condensation starting to form, but definitely doesn't look like it started to cook in full effect at any point yet. But like I say, the condensation tells me the heat's starting to build up in there. And I know I'm lined up with the sun well and all that kind of stuff. So you can see there's pretty good clear skies. I know. We'll just be patient. That's the nature of solar cooking. So I got hungry and already ate the first batch. And like I say, I got the second batch in there cooking it now. It's pretty well ready to go. So it took about half an hour to cook the meat off each batch. I would have hoped it had been a little faster, you know, to start with. The first batch seemed to take a little bit longer than the second. Obviously there was a bit of preheating that went on with the oven, but yeah, either way, still usable. So the solar cooker seemed to perform well. I ate the first batch of food there. It took about half an hour to cook, and then the steak was fully cooked. There's the second batch now. You can see the steam coming out. I'll just take a piece now. I'll show you. The meat was fully cooked through. That was about half an hour's worth of time. Obviously there wasn't as much meat in this. It cooked a little faster. Sorry for talking with the mouthful, but I was hungry. I already went through the first batch, and I don't even know if I caught that on camera because I was that eager. But either way, I don't know if I'd use these silicone things moving forward. I mean, the cooker itself seems effective. I'll just close it so it's not preheating, let it cool down a bit and that kind of thing. But the solar cooker itself seems to be pretty fast. For half an hour from raw to fully cooked, you know, like I say, there's probably about 5-10% haze that's actually in the sky. Even though there's blue, there is a bit of a overcast haze to it, so it's not ideal conditions, but one way or the other, it did the job adequately to cook this food. So I'll pull these out. One of the things I did find was, I don't know if, like I say, I don't know if I'm gonna, oh, of course, I don't know if I'm going to keep using these little silicone trays, just for the fact that they take up extra space inside that cylinder. And given how small the cooking space is to begin with, you know, the more space you have, the more you can pack in there. I can see that already. So I'll probably ditch using these things. But all in all, I think the solar cooker was a good success. I got to kind of calculate now how I'd fit this into being part of my regular kit, and, you know, in what scenarios would this work. You know, if you're in a situation where you're moving from camp to camp every day and you don't really have the hours to stop, that might not be the best piece of gear. You might just want to go with fuels or, you know, wood burns, that kind of thing. But if you're in a camp location for multiple days, this potentially could be a good option for you. So all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the GoSun Go and its performance. You say it's a 2-pound weight and it takes up a bit of bulk, but I could definitely see this offsetting my lunch and dinner fuel consumption. That's something I'm going to have to toy with in my head, of exactly how I'm going to fit this into my kit for, you know, what type of camping or bushcraft, you know, that type of stuff I'm going to do. For survival stuff, I'd probably just stick to wood. But I can see using this for when I'm doing bushcraft or camping stuff and kind of offset things. I think ideally suited, really, it's for a base camp where you know you're going to be able to set this up for a few hours at a time in the sun and just walk away to do other things. You know, if you're switching from camp location to camp location day after day, I don't think this would be really the best, you know, item to use. And like I say, I think ditching the silicone trays just for the extra space is the worthwhile endeavor to do. But I could definitely see it offsetting my lunch and dinner fuel consumption. You know, as long as the weather's half decent, you've got no fuel cooking. That's helpful. But I'll do further reviews as we move through time and give you my honest feedback to things. Thanks for watching.